Hello and welcome to the Solmera Academy. This video should give you a brief introduction into operating system packaging with DSM 2015.2. When opening the DSM console, you will start in the so-called organization view. This view is a combination of the former software and the computer and users view and combines everything that you need for your day-to-day business. In addition, there could be additional views depending on the modules you have licensed. So we have a minimum default installation here, and this only gives us the infrastructure view where you define the structure where the DSM servers sit and the organizational view that we're working in. What we have here is a brand new installation with all the default settings. There's only one thing that we have prepared in our training environment, and this is an import of some users from the Active Directory. Beside that, just as a short overview, we have a Windows Server 2016 Preview 4. We have a DSM 2015.2, the November release, and we have Windows 10, both versions, the Windows 10 July version and the November update as well. I will use the November update and I will give you some information on some issues that we still have with that November update. Talking about an operating system deployment means that we will have to prepare to create some packages that will actually perform the operating system installation. One of the packages will be a so-called boot environment. You will find all the packages that have been delivered by Front Range in the so-called OS library in that lower left structure, the global software library. The boot environments are necessary to boot up the machine before or when installing the operating system. In a Windows 10 environment or Windows 10 installation, we would like to use a Windows PE, a Windows pre-boot environment. That Windows pre-boot environment is not part of the DSM installation, and this is due to Microsoft licensing agreements. So a vendor is not allowed to deliver a Windows PE to an end customer because the Windows PE needs to be licensed by the end user as part of the contracts with Microsoft. So there will be no Windows PE in the environment, and we will have to create a so-called boot environment package to enable the system to boot a machine. As a prerequisite for this, we will have to install the Windows Assessment and Deployment Kit. So when I go down here, my apps on my Windows Server 2016, I will find the Windows Kits, and there's my Assessment and Deployment Kit with all the tools that come with that kit. You can download that Assessment and Deployment Kit directly from Microsoft, and there is a Windows ADK for Windows 10 version 15.11, so that was the most current that I could find. You can download it from Microsoft directly, and then this will be a prerequisite to create a boot environment, a Windows PE package. So let's start with building that boot environment. So I'm in the organization view. I'm down here in the software library, OS library, boot environment. I will find a Linux boot environment that has been delivered and installed with the DSM system. I right click here, create OSD packages, and I want to create a boot environment package. The welcome screen will give me information on which type of boot environment I would like to create now. So it could be a DOS boot environment, a Linux boot environment, or one of the PE versions that are available. The most important thing here is that you will have to create a 32-bit PE image if you want to install a 32-bit operating system, and you will have to create a 64-bit PE image if you want to build a 64-bit operating system installation. So I'm going to build a Windows 10 64-bit installation, so I will create a 64-bit boot environment to do this. If you had already a Windows PE image that you use to install or to boot your machines, containing maybe drivers and tools that you need in your company, you could actually use that existing boot image file. Otherwise, just use the default boot image file that comes with the ADK, And that's what I'm going to do now. So that's the selection that I will have to create here. And this is something that I wanted to show you. This is basically a special behavior of Windows Server 2016. Because of the user account control, I have actually to boot the DSM console as an administrator. So I'm logged on here as an administrator account, but that's not enough. I really have to launch the DSM console as an administrator. So right click, run as administrator, and that should be the thing to boot that DSM console. As a second thing, I would like to mention that if you close the DSM console and reopen it, you will be placed in the same area where we have been before, but not exactly the same spot. So we closed the console in the OS library boot environments, and we will restart or reopen the console being located in the global software library, but not in the same folder. So I need to go back to OS library boot environments and then restart the process. And now you will see doing the same things. Right click here, create OSD packages, create a boot environment package, select the Windows 4 64-bit, create a new boot image, click next, and then the dialog works a little bit better, and will be guided to the next step in that wizard. So activate debug window when booting will open a command line window that gives me the ability to enter commands like check existence of text files or something like that. The disadvantage of this debug window is that this window will not be closed automatically during the installation. So actually the installation of the operating system will come to a halt, and I will have to have access to that machine and close that command window or debug window manually. So if you don't need it, please leave that deactivated. Extended logging will write more into the text files onto the C drive, so that will be a little bit slowing down the machine or the installation, but not that much. So you could activate that if you wanted to. And in the 64-bit version only, not in the 32-bit version, allow unsigned drivers. So if I want to add drivers to the Windows PE environment that are not signed by Microsoft, I need to check that box, the checkbox, and then continue here. Next step is pretty easy. Just provide a name for the package and an optional description. So I just remove the new and I'll just leave the name. It's a Windows PE 4 or 5 64-bit boot environment. So that's fine. Click next. And the next step will give me the option to add drivers to the Windows PE. So if you, for example, need to add RAID controller drivers or other drivers to access the hard drive, or if you need special network adapter drivers during the pre-boot phase, during the Windows PE phase, then you will have to add these drivers to the system. So you will have to package the drivers and then add the drivers to the Windows PE. Basically, this is necessary every time when you would have to press F6 to add drivers during a manual installation. So that's pretty much the same thing in here. So I don't have that. I don't need additional drivers in my virtual environment. So that's fine. I can click next. Besides that, I haven't packaged any drivers so far. So this is a clean installation. Nothing is available there beside one pre-packaged driver from Heat Software. What happens now is that the default boot image, the WIM file, will be mounted into a folder on the workstation or the machine where I'm working on, and then the tools, the scripts in the background will add tools and executables and additions to that Windows PE that we need from the DSM side, and then this folder will again be packaged or exported into a WIM file, into a boot image, and that boot image will then be part of my boot environment package within DSM. So this takes some seconds, and we'll just wait for that process to finish, and then we can continue working on our Windows 10 installation. After the package has been created, we will see the completed page of the dialog that just gives us information package has been created successfully. As this is the first package, the first PE40564-bit package in our environment, the checkbox down here is activated by default. Use the boot environment as default for this type of boot environment. So I'll just leave that active and finish the wizard. And now the wizard asks me if I want to prepare the distribution for this package. So I confirm that. And the second step will be that I need to select where to distribute that package to, and the default setting is all depots in my environment. No difference in my environment, I only have one depot and one server, so I confirm this message as well. So in the background the system will start the distribution process of that boot environment. The distribution process, beside copying the package from our work directory into the install directory, so make it available to be accessed by the clients, will calculate as well a checksum for that package, so that the package will be protected from changes on a file base. So if you modify any files in the package or process modifies any files in the package, that package will be not longer handled by the DSM system, so will not be distributed or installed or used in the future. So that is a little security that we can see in the packages here by calculating a checksum for the package files. Talking about that default package, the default boot environment, that's what you can see when you visit the organization tree in your organization view. So clicking onto managed users and computers, and then we can go down, and that's active here in my environment already. So we have the configuration tab down here, and we scroll down a bit, then we will find the settings for the default boot environments that we want to use, and we can see that the Windows PE 4564-bit boot environment, that is the package that I have just created, and this package is listed here as the default package that we want to use. If any other package asks for a Windows PE 4564-bit boot environment. And you can see there's additional options, or there are additional options here for the other types of Windows PE or Linux. So if I created now a 32-bit Windows PE 45, then the same thing will happen. So the wizard will ask me, or just have the checkbox active, that my new 32-bit will be the default package, and then that will be listed here in this field. I can change that by clicking onto the button at the end of that field, but there is no other 32-bit Windows PE available in my environment, so nothing will be listed here. Same thing applies to the new users and computers as well. There are the variables, and we have the Windows PE boot environment as the default value down there. Now let's progress to the next step and create the package or the set of packages for the Windows 10 installation. To do so, first of all, I would like to focus my window here onto the OS library. Reason for that is just because the packaging wizards will place the new packages usually into the folder that's highlighted when you launch the wizard, and so I would like to place my Windows 10 package into the OS library. Then I need to find the packaging wizard for my operating system installation, and this can be done by activating the tab Software Factory here in my organization view. The Software Factory provides all the wizards for the different types of packages. So I can create packages for applications, I can create packages for drivers, executables, new AppX package type, distribution of files, so just copying files, doing special configuration tasks, etc., etc. And one of these wizards is my OS installation wizard, so create an OS installation. I want to create an OS installation now, and so I will just use the button to create an OS installation. And the wizard launches with a welcome screen that gives me a short overview of the 4 steps that I have to pass to have an OS installation ready at the end. So I click next, and I will start with the OS setup package. The OS setup package is basically a copy of the installation DVD coming from Microsoft. So that will be a pretty large package. And because I don't want to waste disk space, I can reuse an existing OS setup file package multiple times. So I can create one setup file package and use this package again and again for multiple Windows 10 configurations. Or I could create a new OS setup file package, and this will then need access to the installation sources, like a DVD or a network share, and will create the package from there. At the moment, DSM 2015.2 has a little issue in recognizing the November update ISO coming from Microsoft. So Microsoft has changed the name of the product in that image, and there was a technical preview added to the name of the product, and so DSM will not recognize this as a valid installation source. And so we have modified that name of the product in the image before, and we have created a setup file package already. So I will just use that package that already exists, and I will show later, after this has been fixed, how to create the Windows 10 setup sources package in a separate video. Creating a package or configuration package now, that's the next step. So the setup sources package was just added to my set of packages. If I had created a new setup sources package, there would have been the entire copy process of the DVD into my package directory. So now I'm in the next step, and I want to create an OS configuration package. So that configuration package actually links to the setup sources and contains the entire configuration for the operating system, meaning all the settings like time zone, domain, local user accounts, etc., that will be part of the configuration. And this configuration package will then actually launch the setup of Windows on the client computer later. These configuration packages are based on templates. At the moment, there's only one template available for the sources I use. So this is an enterprise version of Windows 10, so that will be a domain configuration. There could be additional ones, so Windows 7, for example, will show a work group and a domain template, and you can add your own templates if you want. So just confirm that, continue with next, and then we just have to select a name for that configuration package. So that will be Windows 10. The version number is not the Windows version, this is the version of DSM used. So the 2015.2 internally is a version 7 Service Pack 3 build 3181. So this is the internal versioning of DSM or Heat Client Management. So name of the package is okay. And now I have to select which type of boot environment I'd like to use. So I mentioned before that for a 64-bit operating system, I should use a 64-bit, or have to use a 64-bit Windows PE, and so I would like to just select the type of my Windows PE, and the only selections here that I have are indeed the 64-bit versions of the Windows PE boot environments. So I have created the Windows PE 4 or 5 64-bit before, and I will be able to select this now here and use that for my operating system installation. If I want to be able to modify this selection later when creating a policy, so when assigning my operating system to a client or a group of clients, then I should activate that change via assignment. I will do that for the moment just for demo purposes. I think we won't need to do that in a productive environment, but it's an option that we have. Within my configuration package, I will have some variables and parameters that I can preset or then select later when assigning the package, so when really using the package to initiate an installation. So I will select the full name, which is Solmera Education. The organization name will be Solmera. Product key, I will leave that empty for the moment. Password for the local administrator. so that you know that password as well. And the more important settings here at the bottom of the screen or of that list, it's just the administrator. So you don't have to use an administrator account here, especially not a domain administrator, but you need to add an account that has the permission to add computers to the domain. So in my case, I actually will use the administrator. And you should make sure that you have no typos, neither in your account name, domain, or the password. Other than in most of the password fields that you will see in DSM, there is no double check or no double entry of the password. It's just adding it once, and that's it. So if you have a typo in the password or in the administrator account name that you want to use, then the system will not be able to join the new computer to the domain. So the domain will be sol.edu.local. So that should be okay. And this creates my configuration package. I'm done. And now, as a next step, I can create an OS installation set from that configuration package or with that configuration package. So when I finalize that step in my series of wizards, I will just end up with the last wizard to create an OS installation set. The values here are not changeable because this depends on the setup sources package that I have selected, and that is part of that package, so I cannot modify that. And I can select a name for my Windows 10 installation. Unfortunately, the source that I have is a German one, but as we don't want to use the Windows 10 client, we just want to show you how to install that. I haven't downloaded another ISO again, so that will be a German installation indeed. And we will end up in this list here. So actually our OS installation is a set of 4 packages. 3 of these packages have been delivered or installed with DSM. So the partitioning and formatting package for multiple platforms has been part of the installation, and I haven't created that now within that wizard. So basically that has been there. The only package in this list that I have created and generated during the wizard is my configuration package. So this is the package that I actually have created now, and this links to the setup sources package, and the other packages are default packages coming with DSM. So the Windows client installation after the Windows installation itself, and the default post OS action package that does some cleanup and deletes temporary files, etc. So that basically is the order that we want to see. Please be careful when working or moving your mouse around on that screen here, because drag and drop is working in that list. So if you drag your partitioning and formatting package down to the end of that list, and then you will see that the installation order will basically change automatically while you move that around. So when you place your partitioning and formatting at the end of that list, DSM will exactly perform the scripts in that order. So we'll perform a Windows 10 installation using the configuration package, then install the DSM client, then does the cleanup and deletes the temporary files, and after that it just destroys the wonderful perfect Windows 10 installation by partitioning and formatting the disk again. So be careful, and I should move that up again. So that's fine in that order: partitioning, then installing, and then doing the client installation and the cleanup. And this actually is everything what you need to build an OS installation set. So let's check our packages again. Going to the OS library, make sure that you have the Objects tab active here. And this is our Windows 10 Enterprise OS installation set. The OS installation set is just a container that holds the components that I want to use. So there's no file, no directory for this package. This package exists only in the DSM database, and it just links to partitioning, formatting, configuration package, client installation, and our default OS package, post OS package, sorry. The setup sources package has been there already, so this is my Enterprise German version 2, so the November update for Windows 10, and the only package that's really new is the configuration package in my environment. Whenever I create new packages, I need to make sure that they pass a distribution process. So for a new package, like my configuration package, I have to select the Prepare Distribution entry in the context menu. So this Prepare Distribution will do some activities on the package, including calculating the checksum for my new package. So that's necessary to make that package a valid DSM package. And the second step will be the distribution setup. Distribution setup just decides, do I want to distribute that package to all depots, that means to all locations in larger structures, or do I want to select into which depots I want to distribute the package. Default value is OK. Click Next, and in the background the distribution will start working. So now I'm ready with my Windows 10 Enterprise, and I can now start or try to install that package onto a first client. Well, then let's test our new Windows 10 package. I have created a new computer, a new Windows 10 machine, nothing on it. I will just show it to you in a second, and I will show you how to add, or how this computer is added automatically to my DSM environment. So when I switch back to my DSM console and I check my organizational structure, so this is the place where all my clients, my computers and users will be visible. I can check my managed users and computers domain. And there's only the part of my Active Directory with the users that I have imported, and my new users and computers domain only holds the server itself as an inactive client. So when I boot up my Windows 10 machine the very first time, then we will see, so I have activated the network boot. So this is the first boot option, and now we can see there was a short DHCP phase in that boot process. So the client performed the PXE boot. PXE boot is a broadcast into the network. The DHCP server catches that broadcast and forwards that broadcast to the boot server that's there in the server settings. The boot server is basically our DSM server. So to be more precise, it's the OSD proxy part of the module of DSM. So that's the address of my boot server, and the boot server then answers that request, that PXE request. And what happens basically is the OSD proxy checks the DSM database. If this is a known computer, and this is done by checking the MAC address of that client, and in this case the client hasn't been an object already in our DSM database, and so the OSD proxy will add the information to the database. So this is this automated action, and there will be some tasks in the background that will actually perform an add of a computer object to the DSM database. When you restart the client the next time, the same things will happen more or less. So it will perform a PXE boot, it will just broadcast, but now the OSD proxy recognizes that this computer has been added already to the DSM database, and so nothing will happen. It will just send back, please perform a local boot. And here you can see again, there's nothing on the hard drive, so no operating system found, and nothing will happen. The client will just stall here and stay at this point, and I will have to reboot that client manually later to initiate the OS installation. When I now check again my new users and computers domain in the DSM console, then I will see a new entry here with the MAC address as the name. It's a computer, it's inactive. I can check the properties here in the right tab, will be the same here the properties down here. So, but I like that view, that tab more here because it's just longer, so I don't need to scroll that much. And we can see that there's not too much information here. The last modification date, the name is the MAC address, the full name, complete name, the type, it's inactive by default, but that's something that you could modify in the system. The initial MAC address and the SMBIOS global unique ID, and that's the information that we can get at that very early stage when booting a machine. So what I want to do now is just to rename that computer. That will be my Win 10 English demo computer. So I just can rename the client here, the computer here, by pressing F2 or right-clicking and selecting rename in the context menu. And just because I like it more, I will drag and drop that computer into my managed users and computers domain, and as soon as I release the mouse button, I have the choice between move and copy. So I moved that machine, and now I have a new computer here, Windows 10 English demo computer and inactive. To be able to install my operating system onto that computer, again I need to right click that computer and activate this computer. Makes it active, gives me a fully colored icon here in the first column, and now the computer is ready to receive installation commands or installation orders. So that's the preparation. What I need to do now is I need to select my Windows 10 package and install this onto my Windows 10 computer. So go down here. Each and every package in the DSM system has a so-called life cycle. This is a pretty easier life cycle because it's just an installation set, so nothing about distribution here, some other steps missing. But the main thing here is I can execute a pilot installation with that package. So let's execute a pilot installation, and as I'm coming from the package, from the software now, I need to select my target of my assignment, and you see I could assign actually this package to managed users and computers, and that would include all computers being members of this domain, so everything that's somewhere in that structure here. For the moment and for demoing purposes, I will just use my Windows 10 client as the target. Usually we would not use single clients or single users as targets for policies, so we prefer to have groups of computers or groups of users as targets, but just at the moment it's just simpler to use that one client, and that's okay for everything that I want to show you in the next minutes. So the target has been selected. I use my Windows 10 Enterprise package. I want to create a standard policy, so a policy that actually performs an installation. I could create a deny policy. That's a policy that prohibits an installation, so that will tell the system whatever anyone else tells you. You could have other standard policies that want to install Windows 10 or this package, this Windows 10 package, but you're not allowed to do that. So the deny policy overrides all standard policies. The third option here is here actually by mistake, so it's just a standard dialog. So we have a shop policy here as well for the operating system, but honestly that will not work. So you can create a shop policy, but the operating system will not show up in the so-called software shop. So just ignore that for the moment. Let's select the standard policy and progress. And here is a set of parameters of settings, a little bit more than we have seen when creating the package. So for example, do I want to use quick format, yes or no? Here is my boot environment type. I have activated that one checkbox that said changeable via assignment, and so that actually makes this line showing up here. And otherwise, if that checkbox hasn't been activated within the wizard before, that line will just not be present here in that dialog. The OS setup file package, I can select another one if I don't like that, or if I in the future will have an English one, I can just change the setup sources if I prefer that later. Partitioning parameters, so I can have up to 4 partitions on one physical hard drive. Unfortunately, the sort order is kind of messed up here, so we need to figure out why that happened. It's in DSM for a while now, so I'm used to that, but it would be better if we had the partition 1, partition 2, partition 3, one after the other. So I can select the file system for the partition. If it's none, the partition will not be formatted. If it's NTFS, obviously that will be an NTFS partition. I can select the size. In that case, I just have one partition formatted with NTFS, and that will use the entire hard drive. So otherwise I can select a number of megabyte or gigabyte depending on what I select here, or percentages. But at the moment, if it's 0, then it uses the entire hard drive, and that's fine. And when we scroll down here, we'll see the license information. So that's what I have entered during the wizard, as well as my administrator account and the local administrator. So please be aware of the fact that we create an admin account, a local admin, and we just provide the password for that local admin account. I can change the time zone of my new client, and the language will just be selected from the installation sources, from the setup sources. So this creates a so-called policy, and in the background, the DSM server, or actually the business logic server module of DSM, will check members of groups and will check how many so-called policy instances can be created. So a policy is that object that I as an administrator can create, and this usually points to a group of computers or users as a target, and then that business logic server will calculate and check how many computers are actually in that target list, in that target group, and then creates a policy instance for each and every computer in that list. So in my case, it's just one computer as in the policy as a target, and so there's only one policy instance down here, so that's all fine. The yellow color tells me that there's a pending activity, in my case a pending OS installation. The envelope symbol here says it has been delivered, so the client will be aware of that pending installation the next time it boots, or the next time it triggers installations, so-called polling of the client. So that's everything I need to do on the DSM side in the console. And if I now reboot my computer, my client machine, it again will contact the DHCP, will be forwarded to the OSD proxy. The OSD proxy again checks the database, recognizes, oh yeah, I know this computer already, I have an entry with that MAC address in my database. Oh, there's a pending policy for an OS installation, and now the OSD proxy transfers the Windows PE. So this is my boot environment package, and now Windows PE comes up and launches, and as soon as Windows PE will be up and running, then we will start executing the scripts, the packages that build my OS installation. So first of all, we will see some communication between the client here and the DSM server, and then it transfers the first package, and the first package is partitioning, formatting the hard drive. So this is what happened now, and now I just wait some seconds, and then it will receive the next package from the DSM server, and the next package will be the OS configuration package that links to the setup sources and initiates the Windows 10 setup. And that's exactly what happens here. So setup launches, setup will be executed, all the necessary information will be in the answer file, and at the end Windows 10 will be available on that client. So we will pause the video for the moment, as we assume that everybody has seen a Windows 8 or Windows 10 installation already, and we will return as soon as the client is available. And after a while, as we can see here, the client appears to be successfully installed. We can log on to the domain with an account. We can select another account. So of course I have checked that before, but this is the brand new installed client. So we will just be able to log on to that client, to the Windows 10 machine, and joining the domain was successful as well. So that looks pretty well, and we should see the desktop after a while. So with the very first login, that's what I just wanted to skip. There's some hello messages and we're configuring features and all that type of things. But now we have actually the Windows 10 machine here with the November update. So that's pretty much the thing that we wanted to see. Returning to our DSM console, we should see the client being listed here with a green dot that says it's compliant, so all the policies are okay, which is pretty simple because it's only one policy at the moment. And this is my Windows 10 64-bit Enterprise German operating system installation set with the 4 packages that are components of that installation set. So this actually concludes the installation of the client. If I want to reinstall a computer, I just need to right click here and select reinstall computer, and that technically will just set all the policies and policy instances on that computer to yellow, to pending again. I can start the reinstallation immediately, so that's what I want to achieve. In case Wake on LAN is working in my environment, I can wake the computer up for reinstallation. And if I have some policy instances that are not on the most current version or the most current revision of a package, I could just update that policy instances on reinstallation. So I'll click yes, and then we'll see that my policy instances will then switch back to the pending, compliance pending status. And with the next boot of that machine, or when it reaches the next polling interval, then the client will actually perform a complete entire reinstallation, including all packages that have been assigned in the past. So if this was a client that has existed for 2 years in my environment with 25 packages and policy instances installed onto that client, then it will actually reinstall all 25 packages plus the operating system, of course. So that's basically what I wanted to show you in that video. It was a little longer now than the German one because I explained a little more, but let's just wait for the reinstallation to start. So this is what you have seen some minutes ago. So the DSM server OSD proxy transfers the Windows PE boot image, and then the setup will launch. So I hope this video was helpful for you, and stay tuned. We'll add more videos to our YouTube channel shortly. Thanks for watching and hope to see you soon.